In the end, the question is not whether we can afford to end poverty, but whether we can afford not to. Martin Luther King Jr. said this in 1967, and today we are going to explore that and much more when it comes to poverty in the United States. My name is Kristin, and this is the Soothing Serpent. When Dr. King spoke those words, he was not merely speaking of economics, but of the soul of a nation. He saw poverty as a mirror of moral failure, the clearest reflection of how a society values human life. In his Poor People's Campaign, King urged us to see the link between injustice, inequality, and indifference. Poverty, he said, is a form of violence, slow, grinding, and avoidable. He warned that America's moral decay would come not from scarcity, but from apathy, which is what we are starting to see today. More than half a century later, his warning remains urgent. We moralize hunger, we punish debt, we built systems that confuse worth with wealth and justice with charity. We have traded empathy for efficiency and belonging for blame. To understand poverty today, we must trace how policy became personal and how politics became moral theater. In the 1960s, Johnson's war on poverty began with promise, yet by 1980s, America was a full war on the poor. This is where we saw Ronald Reagan's rhetoric of the welfare queen, and he weaponized race and class to justify cutting social supports. And we still see that today. People still believe about the welfare queens. And we still see that, even on TikTok today and on Facebook today, where they're talking about, these families that have 6, 7 kids getting so much money in food stamps. By 1996, Bill Clinton's welfare reform reframed aid as moral weakness, replacing long-term support with conditional programs based on surveillance and shame. According to the Brookings Institute, in 2024, the poverty rate after benefits and taxes remains 12.9%. Pew Research Center says that 41.9 million Americans receive SNAP benefits. That's 1 in 8 people. And most live in households where someone works full-time. The working poor are our neighbors, teachers, caregivers, and parents. Yet our policies still assume that struggle is evidence of failure. This narrative is not about economics. It is about hierarchy. Who is seen, who is blamed, and who is believed. Poverty in America is not just material. Nope, it's emotional and it's cultural. We are a nation steeped in the myth of meritocracy, starting all the way back with the Pilgrims and the Puritans, and that hard work guarantees success. When reality doesn't match that myth, the human mind turns inward and says, if I can't make it, something must be wrong with me. It must be a moral failing. This internalized shame fuels anxiety, hopelessness, and identity collapse. Pride, a healthy sense of self, turns toxic when built on comparison instead of connection. Hate becomes the defense mechanism of a system terrified to admit its own inequity. In therapy, we see how shame isolates while dignity heals. In society, we see how narratives of blame divide while empathy connects. And perhaps this is the great paradox that poverty, often viewed as an economic deficit, is in truth a social and relational wound. When we imagine the brain under chronic financial stress, we don't see failure, we see adaptation. Researchers call this the bandwidth tax, the cognitive load of scarcity that narrows attention and decision making. Each unpaid bill or uncertain meal triggers the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, flooding the body with cortisol. This short-term vigilance ensures survival, but long-term, it erodes health sleep, and reasoning. Chronic scarcity downregulates the prefrontal cortex, our seat of planning and self control, while amplifying fear circuits. This isn't irresponsibility, it's neurology. Poverty creates a tunnel of survival in which long term thinking becomes a luxury. Social rejection compounds this pain. Studies show that humiliation and exclusion activate the same brain regions as physical injury. The body experiences poverty not just as deprivation, but as chronic dysregulation, a constant fight for safety. Polyvagal theory explains this well. When the world feels unsafe, the nervous system shuts down social engagement, empathy contracts, isolation deepens. But the brain is also resilient. Neuroplasticity means that safety, belonging, and dignity can rewire those same circuits. When people are met with trust instead of suspicion, seen instead of stereotypes, their biology begins to heal. Poverty then is not inevitable, it's reversible if we regulate collectively. Empathy is not sentimental. It's not liberal hokum. It is a neurological co-regulation, the process through which one nervous system steadies another. Dr. Donna Hicks defines dignity as the inherent worth of every human being. Her dignity framework lists 10 elements, from inclusion to fairness to accountability, each reflecting how relationships and society can restore safety. And there's a biology to justice, actually. When dignity is violated, the amygdala flares and the body prepares for defense. When dignity is honored, oxytocin rises, heart rates slow, and the brain's social engagement network reactivates. And this is the biology of justice. Policies that respect dignity, such as fair wages, accessible healthcare, inclusive education, aren't acts of charity. They're acts of regulation. They claim the collective body. They create conditions for empathy to thrive. Dr. King called this the beloved community, a world where our shared humanity becomes infrastructure for peace. And we see this empathy come alive through teaching. Empathy can't survive without truth. Teaching real history, such as about the Tulsa Massacre, redlining, the treatment of indigenous people in the United States, is not about guilt. It's about regulation through acknowledgement. Erasure perpetuates trauma. When we hide history, we deny collective grief, and empathy stagnates. Educating honestly about injustice allows the social nervous system to process and release. In the therapy room, we know that naming pain is the first step towards healing. The same is true for nations. To teach truth is to offer co-regulation across generation. It tells the next that they are not crazy for feeling the weight of the past. And now for the soothing coil. True compassion, King said, is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. As you breathe now, feel the air expand your ribs, soften the jaw, and open the chest. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Let the breath spiral like the serpent's coil, each rotation loosening the inherited tension of scarcity. Imagine a world where empathy isn't rationed, when housing is a right, not a reward, where no one's worth depends on productivity. This is not utopia, it's regulation. It's what the nervous system feels like when dignity is restored. The beloved community begins in the body, in the choice to breathe, to stay present, to feel. Each inhale is a protest against numbness, each exhale an act of justice. King dreamed of a society grounded in love as power, not soft, but steadfast. Donna Hicks reminds us that dignity is our birthright, and you, listener, are a part of that work to make empathy the architecture of justice. So breathe again. Feel the steadiness return. Let the nervous system of a nation find its rhythm. The serpent coils. The body remembers, and in that remembering, liberation, like breath, belongs to all of us. My name is Kristin, and this has been the Soothing Serpent. Please like, share, or comment, and I will see you again next week. Thank you.